Welcome to Restoria, your cozy corner for gentle bedtime stories. My name is James and I'll be your host tonight. Every night, we bring you peaceful tales designed to calm your mind and help you drift off into a deep, restful sleep. So snuggle in, close your eyes, and let the story begin. The story tonight is called The Cloudship Whisperwind. Chapter 1, The Ship in the Sky. When the villagers of Windmere looked up at the sky, they often saw shapes in the clouds, dragons, teapots, sleeping dogs. But one evening, just as the sun dipped low and painted the clouds in honey and rose, a little boy named Elliot saw something different. He saw sails. Not sails flapping in the sea breeze, but sails drifting gently through the highest part of the sky, their fabric catching golden light like wings of silk. Beneath the sails was a ship rail and wide and quiet, its hull carved from wood the color of moonlight, and its name etched in silver along the side. Whisperwind. Elliot stood at the edge of the tallest hill, his feet buried in cool grass, his mouth open in wonder. "Is that a flying ship?" he whispered. The sky didn't answer, but something in the wind did. It curled around him like a ribbon and tugged lightly at the hem of his shirt. It smelled of rain and salt and something a little like vanilla. Elliot turned and ran. He ran down the hill, through the field of bluebells, and up the path to his grandmother's cottage. The chimney puffed soft white smoke, and her windows glowed warm with lamplight. "Grandma," he called, bursting through the door. "There's a ship in the clouds." She looked up from her knitting, one eyebrow arched. "A ship? In the sky? Real sails? A name and everything." Grandma set her knitting down. "Well now, that sounds like the Whisperwind." Elliot blinked. "You've seen it too? Once?" she said, standing slowly and walking to the window. "A long time ago, when I was about your size, came drifting over the orchard one spring morning. No one else believed me." "What is it?" Elliot asked, still breathless. Grandma smiled. "A cloud ship. Not many know about them. They don't sail on oceans. They sail on the softest part of the sky, just above the dreams and just below the stars." Elliot stepped closer to the window. The sky was fading to twilight, and the clouds now blushed a sleepy purple. "Where do they go?" "Where they're needed," she said. "Some say they carry stories. Others say they carry dreams. But I think they carry something even gentler than that." "What?" "Peace." That night, Elliot could hardly sleep. He kept the curtains open, watching the stars flicker into place. And just before his eyes grew too heavy to stay open, he thought he saw the Whisperwind again, gliding quietly beneath the moon. The next morning, he climbed the hill once more. The grass sparkled with dew, and the sky was the softest blue. He brought a small satchel with Hema notebook, a pencil, and a sandwich wrapped in a napkin. He sat, he waited, and when the wind came curling down from the sky again, gentle and cool and filled with the scent of cloudberries and clean sails, Elliot stood up. "I'm ready," he said to no one, and yet someone answered. The air shimmered in front of him, and with a sigh like an old door opening, a rope ladder unfurled from above. It swayed in the breeze, its rungs made of woven mist and silver thread. Elliot's heart thudded. He looked once behind him, toward the village far below. Then he climbed. Each step lifted him further from the earth, further into the sky, until the world below was a watercolor of green and gold. When he reached the top, a deck opened before him, polished and warm, lined with glowing lanterns and humming sails. Standing at the helm was a tall woman in a long coat stitched with starlight. Her hair blew like cloud wind, and her eyes were the color of rain just before it falls. "Welcome aboard the Whisperwind," she said with a soft smile. "We've been waiting for you." Elliot stepped onto the deck, the wind curling around him like an old friend, and for the first time, he felt lighter than air. The ship rose higher, sails billowing gently, and the sky, wide and quiet, opened to let them pass. Chapter 2. Maps Made of Mist. Elliot didn't speak for a while. Not because he was scared, he wasn't, but because the sky was so big up here. It felt like a place where talking might wake something gentle. The Whisperwind glided silently across clouds that looked close enough to touch. Beneath them, streaks of starlight shimmered faintly in the air, as if the sky had threads of silver sewn through it. The tall woman at the helm turned to him. "Would you like to see the map?" Elliot nodded quickly. She led him below deck, through a small round door into a room that smelled of soft paper, candle wax, and peppermint tea. Charts and scrolls lined the shelves, but in the center was the map, a swirling sheet of mist suspended in the air above a crystal table. Elliot stepped closer. The mist moved. At first, it just swirled in blues and whites. But then, little marks appeared, stars, spiral clouds, glowing lanterns drifting along invisible paths. "What is this?" Elliot asked in a whisper. The woman smiled. "It's the map of the sky's quiet places." He peered closer. "Quiet places? Places where dreams are born. Where stories wait to be told, where someone, somewhere, is closing their eyes and needs a place to rest." He watched as a tiny glowing dot pulsed faintly at the edge of the map. "That's our next stop," she said. "A dreamer just began to drift. Are we going to help them? We're going to carry their dream, catch it like a snowflake before it fades." Elliot's chest swelled with something like purpose. He followed her back above deck. The sky had shifted slightly bluer, deeper, the stars just beginning to appear. A new crew member had joined them. A short man with spectacles and a scarf that flapped in the wind even though there wasn't much wind to flap it. He saluted Elliot. "I'm Pocket," he said, grinning. "Navigator, keeper of the kettle, and occasionally bedtime storyteller." Elliot smiled. "I'm Elliot." "Ah, yes," Pocket said, adjusting his glasses. "You're the new quiet heart. Every ship needs one." "What's a quiet heart?" Elliot asked. "The one who listens for the hush," said Pocket. "Some folks hear music, others hear noise, but quiet hearts, they hear peace. And sometimes that's what the ship follows." Elliot didn't know what to say to that. but he liked the sound of it. He wandered toward the bow of the ship, where the clouds rolled beneath them like slow rivers. Far in the distance, a single light flickered, tiny, warm, waiting. "That's the dream?" he asked. The tall woman, who he now knew as the captain, nodded. "Let's go meet it." She turned the wheel gently, and the Whisperwind responded like a sigh. As they sailed closer, the air thickened, not heavy, but full. Like the space between sleep and waking, Elliot began to feel sleepy. Not the kind that pulled his eyelids closed, but the kind that made his thoughts feel soft and glowing. Pocket passed by with a tray of steaming cups. "Cloud tea," he said. "Helps with the drifting." Elliot took a cup and sipped. It tasted like mint and honey and something he couldn't nama taste that reminded him of curling up in bed after a long day. The light ahead grew brighter, and soon Elliot could see it clearly. It wasn't a lamp, it wasn't a star, it was a dream. A small, glowing shape hovered in the air, trembling like a bubble. Inside, shadows danced, child's drawing of a treehouse, a lullaby written in crayon, the smell of cinnamon toast. Elliot stepped closer, instinctively reaching out. "Gently," said the captain. He cupped his hands near the light. It floated between them, warm as a heartbeat. "What do I do with it?" he whispered. "Hold it, that's enough." So Elliot did, and the dream settled. Behind him, the Whisperwind lowered its sails, hovering still and steady. Elliot cradled the dream in his hands as the sky wrapped around them like a lullaby. And for the first time, he understood what the ship truly carried. Not just stories, not just dreams, but the hush between heartbeats, the quiet that helped the world sleep. Chapter 3. The Sleep Garden. The dream Elliot cradled glowed gently in his hands, a soft golden shimmer that pulsed like it had its own tiny breath. He held it all the way down into the lower deck, following the captain and Pocket into a room that smelled like moonflowers and old paper. "This is where we keep them," the captain said softly. "The dreams that aren't quite ready to land." The room was filled with what looked like hundreds of floating orbs, each glowing gently in their own shade. Some were rose-colored, some silver blue, others a pale green like the inside of a seashell. They hovered just above soft, mossy platforms, as though they were sleeping in midair. Pocket leaned in. "We call it the Sleep Garden." Elliot stepped forward in awe. The room hummed gently. Not a sound, really, but a feeling. Like someone humming just under their breath while swaying in a rocking chair. He walked past one orb and saw flickers of a picnic under an orange tree. A cat curled beside a journal, a firefly blinking from a mason jar. Each dream was its own world, and now he was holding one. "Go on," said the captain. "Find a place where it feels at home." Elliot looked around until he found a small space near a dream that looked like soft waves washing over sand. He crouched down and slowly opened his hands. The orb lifted gently, floated in place, then gave a faint pulse of warmth before settling down onto its mossy bed. "Will it stay here forever?" Elliot asked. No, said the captain, only until its dreamer is ready to remember it. Pocket smiled. Some come back in the middle of the night. Some not for years. But the dreams always know when it's time. Elliot sat down cross-legged on the floor. Around him, the sleep garden pulsed in time with a rhythm he couldn't hear but somehow understood. The captain took a small book from a nearby shelf and opened it, revealing pages filled with hand-drawn stars, short notes, and tiny pressed flowers. Every dream we care for gets a page, she said, handing Elliot a pencil made of stardust wood. You can write something for this one. Elliot thought for a moment, then scribbled a short line. Treehouse dream. Held it in my hands. Felt like home. He drew a little leaf next to the words. The captain smiled and tucked the book away. Pocket yawned. Tea? They climbed back above deck, where the sky had turned indigo. The sails above them glowed faintly, catching the starlight as the Whisperwind drifted between clouds like a boat through still water. Elliot held his mug of cloud tea, sitting on a coil of rope near the bow. He watched as tiny glimmers blinked across the sky. Other dreams, he realized, drifting like lanterns waiting to be found. How many dreamers are there? He asked. Endless, said the captain. But don't worry, there are other ships. Elliot blinked. Other cloud ships? Oh yes. Each one with its own song. Some drift in the north wind. Some dance with storms. We pass them sometimes, but we don't stop. Each ship has its own dreams to keep. He thought about that, then looked up at the sails. Where do the sails take us next? The captain stood behind him, her coat fluttering softly. Wherever someone has a dream too soft to speak out loud, that's what the sails listen for. A sudden warmth bloomed in Elliot's chest. He didn't feel like a visitor anymore. He felt like part of the crew. As the night grew deeper, he curled beneath a blanket stitched with constellations. Pocket handed him a small book before bed, a dream log, with blank pages waiting to be filled. Elliot turned to the first page and wrote, Tonight, I held someone's dream. Tomorrow, maybe mine will be ready too. The ship hummed gently, gliding through the night, and Elliot, wrapped in quiet and starlight, drifted off. In the sleep garden below, one of the dreams pulsed once and smiled. Outside the ship, the sky began to sing, a wind song only dreamers could hear, soft and low and full of promise. And high above them, tucked between two sleepy stars, another dream flickered into being. The Whisperwind adjusted its sails. It had a new destination. Chapter 4. The Sound of a Forgotten Name. The next evening, the Whisperwind sailed into a part of the sky Elliot had never seen before. The clouds here were a soft lilac gray, drifting in long, lazy spirals that shimmered faintly when the sails passed through them. Below, there was no Landonly, the endless swirl of starlit mist. Above, the stars hung lower, slower, and Elliot swore they blinked in rhythm to the hush of the wind. Pocket handed Elliot a biscuit and pointed to the horizon. See that glow? He said. That's a forgotten dream. Forgotten? Elliot asked. The captain, already standing at the helm, answered before Pocket could. Not all dreams are lost. Some just lose their names. The sails caught a curl of wind shaped like a whisper, and the ship turned smoothly toward the soft light in the distance. Elliot watched it grow a gentle golden pulse, hidden in a tangle of stardust and fog. As they drew closer, the dream came into focus. It wasn't an orb this time. It was a floating island, no larger than the deck of the ship, and on it stood a single tree. The tree had no leaves, but hundreds of tiny ribbons tied to its branches, each one glowing with a memory too quiet to speak. "We're here," the captain said. She brought the Whisperwind to a gentle halt, and a gangplank extended toward the island, resting softly on its moss-covered ground. Elliot crossed first. The air here was hushed in a way that made his footsteps feel like raindrops. He approached the tree slowly. One ribbon, swaying near his shoulder, brushed against his cheek, and suddenly he remembered something. A lullaby his mother had hummed once, long ago, just before a thunderstorm. He hadn't thought of it in years. Another ribbon brushed his hand, and this time it was the scent of cinnamon toast and the feel of warm socks on a rainy morning. "They're pieces," Pocket said from behind him. "Not whole dreams, just fragments, names waiting to be remembered." Elliot turned to the captain. "How do we help them?" She gestured toward the satchel on his shoulder. "Open your log, listen, and when you feel something stir, write it down." Elliot opened the dream log. The page fluttered on its own, then stilled. He waited, then, slowly, wrote. A boy once dreamed of a name that felt like home. He whispered it into the wind, and the sky held it close. As the pencil lifted from the page, one ribbon from the tree came untied. It floated gently into Elliot's hands, and as he touched it, the name came back. It wasn't his, but he felt it. Leora. The ribbon glowed, then vanished, carried off by the wind. Someone, somewhere, just remembered what they forgot, said the captain. Elliot smiled, heart warm. The crew stood silently for a few minutes more. Then the Whisperwind pulled away, leaving the tree to sway in the quiet sky, a little lighter than before. That night, Elliot wrote in his dream log again. Sometimes dreams are waiting for names, and sometimes names are waiting to be dreamed. He looked up at the stars, wondering how many more were out there, waiting. Chapter 5. The Storm That Slept. The next dream they chased wasn't glowing. It was hidden deep within a storm. The sails of the Whisperwind shivered as the sky darkened, not with fear, but with the steady hush of something old and powerful. Clouds rolled in slow waves, violet and slate and deep twilight blue, rumbling softly like a giant breathing in sleep. Elliot stood beside the captain at the helm. The sky no longer shimmered, it pulsed. A steady beat, slow and low, like a lullaby in another language. "This storm isn't dangerous," the captain said. "It's just dreaming." Pocket appeared beside them with a small pouch of soft stones. "Storm stones," he explained. "We drop them when we pass through sleeping weather. They leave a trail so we can find our way backer, so the storm knows we mean no harm." Elliot took one. It was warm, smooth, and hummed faintly in his hand. As the Whisperwind sailed forward, the air thickened, not heavy, but full of quiet. Rain didn't fall, thunder didn't crash. Instead, there was a softness, like being wrapped in a blanket while someone tells you a story just before sleep. Lightning blinked, soft and slow, in the belly of the clouds pale pink and gold, like the sky was yawning. There, the captain pointed, in the very heart of the storm, a shape appeared, a cocoon of mist and light, swaying gently in the dark. The crew fell silent. The ship moved closer, sails folding slightly to glide more gently. Elliot approached the edge of the deck. Inside the cocoon was a child, not sleeping, but suspended, curled in a nest of clouds, breathing slowly. A dreamer caught in a storm they didn't know they'd made. "Sometimes," said Pocket softly, "dreamers carry storms, worries, questions, not bad things, just too many to rest." Elliot nodded. He opened his dream log and tore out a blank page. Then, with a pencil carved from quiet, he wrote, "It's okay to rest. The clouds will hold you. The wind will keep your thoughts safe." He folded the paper into the shape of a bird and held it out over the edge. The bird fluttered once, then caught a soft current and drifted toward the cocoon. When it touched the mist, the storm shifted. The clouds lightened just slightly. The lightning slowed, and the dreamer stirred. They didn't wake, but their breath deepened. Their fingers uncurled, and the storm, still wrapped around them, began to lift like morning fog. Elliot felt something release inside his own chest. The Whisperwind turned gently, its sails opening wide again, catching a breeze that smelled like rain after it's gone. Pocket dropped a stormstone over the side. It vanished into the mist with a soft plunk. "Dream's not over," he said, "but now it knows it's not alone." Back above the clouds, the sky was clearer. The stars were still waiting. That night, Elliot wrote, "Even storms dream. Some need only a lullaby to remember the quiet they were made from." And below them, in the still folded hush of the clouds, the storm kept sleeping peacefully. Chapter 6. The Return of the Dreamer. The sky was gentle the next night. The clouds, now feathers soft and barely there, drifted in strands like pulled taffy. Stars blinked with ease, and the Whisperwind floated with them. No destination in mind, just waiting, listening. Elliot leaned over the railing at the bow, his dream log pressed to his chest. He had filled more pages than he ever thought possible. Notes, sketches, pieces of dreams he'd carried or helped remember. But one page near the end was still blank. That was the one he was waiting for. The captain joined him silently. "Do you know where we're going next?" Elliot asked. She nodded once. "This time, it's for you." Elliot turned to her, surprised. "Me?" She gestured to the horizon, where a single star pulsed brighter than the rest. "You've given peace to so many dreamers," she said. "Now the sky has something to return to you." Pocket appeared at the helm, humming a lullaby Elliot hadn't heard since the first night aboard. The tune wrapped around him like a scarf, familiar and comforting. The ship adjusted its sails and followed the star. As they drew near, the air began to shift, not cooler or warmer, but older, like it remembered him, like it had been holding something all this time. Below, a floating island began to appear through the mist. It looked like a piece of Elliot's own memory, pieced together from the inside out. A small treehouse nestled between starlit trees, a soft swing hanging from a low branch, a lantern glowing on the porch. He stepped onto the gangplank. Every sound, the rustle of leaves, the creak of the swing, the hush of the lantern felt like a heartbeat he'd once forgotten. Elliot entered the treehouse. Inside, the walls were lined with books he'd never written but somehow remembered. A small cot with a quilt his mother once made, a jar of buttons, a window that faced the moon, and in the center, a dream. It hovered, quiet and whole, not flickering, not pulsing, just waiting. He reached for it. As soon as his fingers touched the edge, the dream opened. It showed him pieces of himself, a boy who once wondered if he'd ever sleep soundly again, who once searched the sky for stories and found them waiting. A heart full of questions that had learned to be still, a quiet that had always been there, just beneath the noise. Elliot sat on the edge of the cot, the dream glowing softly beside him. He opened his log to the final page and wrote, "I have dreamed many dreams, but this one is mine." The dream shimmered once and settled into his chest. The sky pulsed gently outside. The Whisperwind waited. Elliot returned to the deck slowly. The captain smiled as he stepped aboard. Pocket passed him a warm mug of cloud tea. He drank quietly, then looked to the sky. "Where to now?" he asked. The captain tilted her head. "Wherever the next dream waits." Elliot nodded. He turned to the sails, watching them catch a current only they could feel. And as the ship glided forward, the stars above blinked their goodnight, and the wind sang low and sweet. The dreamer had come home, and now he was ready to sail again.